Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to do a Codelab demo using cloud storage, which is going to be the main focus here because we are in the cloud storage section, but we're going to pair that with Cloud Functions and the DLP API for as many acronyms as we can fit in into one sentence. Basically, DLP is the data loss prevention service that Google Cloud provides. It looks for sensitive information in your data and it will basically do thing when it finds that. Now, for the purposes of this Codelab that we're going to be walking through, we're using them as services. We don't necessarily need to go into the details of what they are. You could replace it with whatever API you wanted, kind of as usual. Our focus here is that we want to upload some data to cloud storage and have something get triggered. So that's kind of the goal here. Now, I will, as always, put the links in the description. For this one, I'll also link up the DLP API so that you can read more about it. This is probably the only point we're going to talk about DLP, but it is useful if you want to, say, automatically manage sensitive information in your data sets. And a data set could be cloud storage files, it could be any kind of data streaming in, just basically depends on your needs and if you need to worry about that or not. So what we have here today is a nifty little Codelab here. And again, link will go in the description. Pretty straightforward to walk through. With everything from now on, and I'll put this announcement, you're going to be getting this all like in order. I'm recording this video fairly late into the process, so I just want to keep reiterating, create a new project for all of these. I did that already. I called it Frederick 680 DLP, but I'm just going to blow this project away when we're done, just to avoid any hidden issues. And that little bloop, sorry, let me off screen here. Yes, I'm still here. Sorry for that. I've got my office hours going on in parallel, so I wanted to make sure that Blackboard didn't drop me from the call. Anyway, we need to get up and running here. As usual, boilerplate stuff that we don't have to worry about at this point. We do need access to these APIs here, so Cloud Functions, DLP, Cloud Storage. They provide a handy little link to automatically enable all of those for this particular project. Now, since I have a brand new project, again, I will need to re-enable them. So while that is loading in, and I guess I should also mention, be wary of what you are clicking. This is effectively a third-party resource. So we want to make sure that we're clicking the right thing here. Again, I'm fairly certain this will be fine based on the URL. I guess I should clarify why I'm sure it's fine. But you can generate API activation pretty easily. Now let's leave this as is. First things first, we need a Cloud Shell up and running. And we're going to basically allow our service account for AppSpot to basically have access to DLP. So what we're doing with this command here is we're saying the service account tied to this project is a DLP admin. And make sure that, again, your project ID is correct here in Cloud Shell. I just clicked authorize there very quickly. All right, so our service account is good. And again, if you want more detail on what these environment variables are, feel free to echo them in the terminal. Again, this project will be gone by the time you get to this, but I can say echo Google Cloud project. And there's that. We also want this role to also have, this account to also have the service agent role. So we'll activate that. And now we want to give them the viewer role. Error. So what happened was that it didn't automatically create a service account for me, probably because I clicked cancel at that point. I'm going to go ahead and just try my default service account. And we want it to be here. So basically what I did is I just got rid of the specific service account ID that they're trying to generate and dropped my default one in here. See if it grants me access. It does. Okay, we will keep going on. All right, and my guess is that if you were to go ahead and do this and actually didn't skip the step that I did at the beginning, probably wouldn't have the problem that I just did. All right, why are we getting so cut off here? Why are you stuck? All right, good enough. Next. All right, we also need some storage buckets to put our information into. And these are actually going to be 3 different buckets for categorizing things. So we're going to have a quarantine bucket, sensitive data, non-sensitive data. Basically, these are going to be what DLP moves files into based on if sensitive data was detected or not. So GS, util, MB, GS, Frederick's 680 quarantine. All right. And I could have done this all in one line, but we'll do that for the next 2. Sensitive and GS Frederick's 680 non-sensitive. Again, I did them in 2 separate commands, could just do it in one. So we have these 3 buckets. I'm going to write them down really, really quickly so that I don't forget them. So Frederick's, yeah, or 680 quarantine, because we're going to need access to these later. Sensitive, non-sensitive, minimize. Okay, we have 3 buckets. Again, globally unique names. Next, we have to work with pub/sub. So this is one thing that I didn't mention at the outset, but we're going to be using pub/sub to manage these events that are happening. Pub/sub is something that we don't get into until chapter 3, or I guess week 3. Basically, this is a messaging protocol service managed by Google where we are going to publish information to some topic, and then any entity that subscribes to that topic will get a copy of that message in some format. Again, we'll go into more detail on this very, very soon. But keep in mind that it is a useful tool for us. Pub/sub, topics, create, classify, topic. Okay. And then we want to create a subscription for that topic. So anytime something goes into classify topic, we're going to have a subscription available for that. Gcloud, pub, sub, subscriptions, create, classify, sub. So that's what we just created. Give it a topic to work with. Again, if you read a little bit more detail in here, as always, I kind of gloss over the nitty-gritty of what the lab has written out, but useful to read. Don't just copy and paste code. This is going to trigger our Cloud function that we're going to be creating here. All right, next step. Let's go over to Cloud Functions. Now, I think I forgot to grab a copy of their repository. So where is the link that I missed? Sub. And we're back. So what I do with these Codelabs is that sometimes they do get out of date. Sometimes people forget to add things or keep them, updated with the current Google interface. In this case, what I'm going to guess is that the authors wrote a Medium article, transposed it over to Codelabs, and then forgot their GitHub repository. So I just searched Google for the name of the Codelab, And I found the Medium article that went with it. And hey, here's the Git repo we are supposed to clone. Now, I will also add the link to the Medium article in here because it's a lot more bloggy. It's written in a more easy to read format, I suppose. But let's go ahead and clone down the repo here. Git clone. And now I have all the scripts that I need, which is good. So basically where we are at, I've kind of been bouncing around the Codelab trying to find out if I just can't read, which is always a possibility. We've created our PubSub subscriptions and topics. Now what we want to do is we're going to go into this Git repository. So it's in DLP Cloud Functions and a Python script. There are also Node possibilities as well if you'd rather do it in Node.js. I'm going to do it in Python because I like Python. Now, what we have in here are some very specific variables, and we're basically setting up globals here for the project to work with. So let's go ahead and edit main.py. These days I will set the default color scheme for this so I don't have to change it every time. All right, so we need the project ID, in which case we can very easily look it up. So this is mine, Frederick680 DLP. Yours will be different. So just replace it in the quotes here. Why does this happen every time I try to leave the window? So I was in Vim, and it didn't like that I left Vim momentarily. All right, so project ID. 680 DLP. My quarantine bucket, this is where I can pull open the names of my buckets here, why we needed to keep an eye on them. So let's say Frederick's 680 quarantine. Our sensitive bucket name is Frederick's 680 sensitive, and non-sensitive Frederick's 680 non-sensitive. And our topic we also need as well. This was just classified topic. We didn't change that whatsoever. All right, save. This can go away. Now, save and quit. If we are in the same directory as main.py, we can start deploying this thing right away. Otherwise, make sure you navigate over. Dramatic pause for more caffeine. All right, gcloud functions. So again, gcloud command, deploy. So cloud function, deploy. We're going to call this create DLP job. So that's the name of our cloud function. It is a Python 3.7 script. Our trigger event is google.storage.object.finalize. And if you remember from the other video, we can set a trigger based on what's happening in our storage buckets. In this case, we're waiting for a file to be uploaded and finalized. And our resource is going to be our quarantine bucket. So I call this Fredericks-680-quarantine. And I'm going to hit enter and hope I didn't make a typo. Okay, so while this error build API has been... What? Oh, I didn't enable... Okay. Fun, fun, fun. I forgot to enable the Cloud Build API. By clicking that link earlier, I had assumed that all the APIs that I needed were enabled. Again, Cloud Functions needs Cloud Build to run, so I'm just going to click Enable. They give you a handy link to click right here, but I'm going to show you both ways, basically. So while that runs, we're going to go ahead and talk about the next step, where basically we have our deployment to keep an eye on classified topic as well, and our deployment being our cloud function. All right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and now create our cloud function. And while this is going, let's navigate over to Cloud Functions. So we see it spinning up. We see it's triggering on this bucket. Basically what's going to happen is we're going to upload something to quarantine, and then we're going to check to see is there data in there. If there is sensitive data, move it to the sensitive bucket, and then we'll manage that if we need to. All right, this will take a hot moment. I'll see you in a few.